Hello, everybody. This is Catholic Dad, episode number 348, Message to the Church. So, I'm Catholic Dad. I have 9 kids. I work hard, I make some money, and I have to take care of my wife and 9 kids, and I also have to take care of my church. One of the precepts of the church is this, that I have to take care of you financially. And so here's a dad, right? And so a dad has to make sure that his wife and his kids are cared for, but a dad also has to care for his church, or make sure his church is cared for. Now think about that. That's split loyalties, right? Like you actually have to figure out what the prudential amount of money to put away for your wife and children are, and figure out what the prudential amount of money to put away for your church. And so here's a message for the church, by the way, because I thought about this. I've actually been thinking about this for quite some time now. That if the church lived up to its mission of caring for widows and orphans, then no father would ever be torn about giving money to the church. Because if he knew his wife and his kids would be cared for, because that's his primary responsibility, right? If he knew his wife and his kids would be cared for, he would give all his money to the church, every ounce of it. And maybe he'd keep a little bit aside just in case the church thing didn't work out. But if the church really had a mission to care for widows and orphans and those in need and the downtrodden, the sick and the destitute and so on and so forth, then the father would be happy to give his money to the church. And so this whole church not taking care of widows and orphans, the church, we build a building, we dispense the sacraments, we have some fundraisers, and we give some food to the food bank and whatever else the church does. That does not make a father feel very comfortable when he gives his money to the church. What would make a father feel comfortable if the church had a mission in mind, that it would give money to widows and orphans and food to people in need, in case they needed it. Not like, oh, we'll do that. Oh, by the way, wink, wink. No, if there was some kind of, not a contract, but just a mission statement from the church that's what they would do. And then the father wouldn't have to feel like he had to put so much money away for his wife and kids. And so if you had this as a social agreement or as some kind of financial agreement or some kind of like insurance plan, church insurance, whatever it is, we as fathers have insurance. It's called life insurance. Why can't you actually set up an insurance plan through the church? And I'm not talking Knights of Columbus here, because you set your own policy, but I mean community insurance, meaning you go to church, you tithe, and you're part of the community. And if you're part of the community, you're now invested in the life insurance program, whether you can give $2 a week or whether you can give $10,000 a week or whatever it is. You're all part of the body of Christ. Some people can give more, some people can give less. And so the church, I think, should probably figure this out, that they know that families will be cared for within their church, within their vicinity, within their, diocese or whatever it is. If a family were to go without, a family, like a father would have succumbed to illness or a mother would succumb to illness, that your church would be there to offer relief. And I bet you, by the way, you can get parishioners to start giving a heck of a lot more money, because as it is right now, you go to church, you throw your money in the basket, and do you ever see a return on it other than a big fancy building? No, you don't. You just don't, for the most part. Maybe you get a youth group, but you got to pay for that. Maybe you get sacraments, but you got to pay for that, right? In terms of sacramental class and whatever else. And so donut hour, there's even a basket for money in donut hour. It's like, seriously, I just gave in the basket in church. Now I have to give for donuts? It's like, and so that's my advice to the church, by the way. Anybody listening, any priest, any deacon, any nun, anybody, that if you guys can figure out some sort of agreement that if you tithe to the church, talking 10% of the salary, that you're part of this agreement, that you'll be cared for, then I can almost guarantee you a whole bunch of people will sign up for it. And pretty much, and I'm not exaggerating about this, pretty much I think everybody would be on board with it, that if you tithe to the church, you get some kind of relief in the end in case you die. Because really, I'm a father of a whole bunch of kids, and the only thing I think about in terms of my money is, I don't really want it for myself. I want it for charity, and I want it for the welfare of my wife and my children, period. That's all. And if I can be assured that some of it would be returned in case of my demise, I'd be willing to give a heck of a lot more to the church. Well, anyway, this is Catholic Dad making you think about it. Please like or subscribe, get the Mass, and pray the Daily Rosary. And God bless you all. And oh, by the way, I always say one more thing. And that would, by the way, create more ownership in your church, and it would also create, like, the men, by the way, are kind of divided from each other just in terms of spiritual life for the most part. We go do our own things and we don't really hang out. But if you literally had ownership in the church together in terms of taking care of your spouses, suddenly the men would step up and start taking care of the spouses too in times of need. Let's say Mr. Blank's wife, or Mr. Blank dies, and Mrs. Blank's there. Then the husbands would come together, do the yard work, do some shopping for the kids, take the kids out and play ball, whatever else. You do that, you form a community. And, oh, by the way, here's the really amazing part, which I think would happen if you actually did it, is if everybody gave that much money, or even like 3% of their salary, you'd have free Catholic school. More Catholic people would come, they'd be converted to the faith. Maybe you can even recruit a sister or two, a nun, and then you could build a community, right? Wow. Well, anyway, God bless you. Take care. Pray the daily rosary, everybody. God bless. Bye.